Hello gaming community, join me as we dive into the world of F1 23 in today's review. If you're interested in buying F1 23, chances are you're already familiar with the Codemasters' previous Formula 1 game. The previous one, F1 22, is also playable through Game Pass Ultimate EA Play and serves as a great introduction to these annual recurring sports titles. Not unlike other sport games such as FIFA for example, these F1 games pride themselves on offering a customizable experience with a driving and arcade approach for those who just want to tinker with fast cars down to those of dedication. Down to the fine details in driving patterns, damage systems, tire wear, strategies and more. The game features all of the circuits and drivers on the current F1 championship, as well as a few extras such as Formula 2, sports car and a few fan favorite circuits that didn't make it onto this year's calendar for one reason or another. For example, the Imola race was skipped this year due to devastating floods that hit Italy's Emilia-Romagna region last month. Naturally, new circuits such as the highly publicized Las Vegas and the Qatar circuit that most people know from MotoGP are also included. One of the biggest recent additions to the F1 package in the question on Breaking Point. F1 21, a scripted story mode that saw players follow fictional Formula 1 driver Aiden Jackson's path to perfection throughout Formula 2 and difficult beginnings in the cutthroat world of Formula 1. It was a very welcome addition, clearly inspired by the cinematic approach of the Netflix hit documentary F1 Drive to Survive. After a hit status last year, the story is back. F1 23 presents. However, as expected, the linear story has a few twists and turns this year. Although the races still have scripted cutscenes, all dialogue has been fixed and so on. This time the players are also put in different shoes. Team Principal Andrea Conner, upcoming Formula 2 prodigy Carly Meyer, and we even play Devon Butler himself at various points in the story, with the return of various notable characters such as Aiden's rival and mentor Casper Ackerman. By offering more points of view, the story feels much more segmented and less cohesive, but it also allows players to better understand each character's traits and motivations, adding a more human side to people who can seem like a quite negative characters. There are even more surprisingly serious moments in this story that made me realize how well Codemasters made me feel certain things about these drivers. Only play with my expectations and emotions later. There's nothing unheard of about the story itself, but the execution was well worth the 8 hours or so spent. With optional objectives and a few moments where the player can influence the outcome of secondary events, overall it was an enjoyable time, with a decent level of difficulty and higher difficulty levels. Naturally, F1 games consist not only of these fairly new story modes, but also of a huge amount of custom racing that can be played both online and offline or even split screen. Interestingly, most of these events are now under a common banner called F1 Worlds. Here players can either set up any custom event, specifying whether they need training, qualifications and of course what type of assistance, AI persistence, etc. should be. But in addition, the game itself offers events of all kinds with even higher technical ratings, as various races also take place through certain scenarios, such as uncharacteristic terrain in Qatar, or some endurance races, lasting much longer than the usual 3 game usually offers 5 lap sprints for those quick bursts of adrenaline. This year I won't go into detail about the numerous game modes because the differences are minimal. Custom races both online and locally against a friend in split screen or against the AI. Custom championships and leagues both offline and online. Career mode can put players both behind the wheel and as a team leader in the case of the former can even start from Formula 2. Training, qualifying, sprint races, safety cars, reflex penalties, collisions, weather damage, intensity and a billion other options to customize Formula 1 and 2 with the dates of each player. Replays can be reviewed and saved, and a powerful photo mode allows you to take great pictures. The leaderboards are cross-platform and all online modes supports full cross-platform between Xbox, PlayStation and PC. Naturally, this is all updated for the 2023 season in terms of tracks, cars, drivers and more. Graphically, the game appears to have received only minor changes from last year's game. All the features found in the F1 22 are back. Ray tracing in graphics mode, up to the 120 frames on the TVs that support 120Hz modes, in performance mode and so on. Broadcast options have been expanded a bit, and speaking of broadcasts, it's nice to hear more and more familiar voices from the F1 and F2 paddocks, from the most recognizable Formula 1 commentators to David Versace, a former Formula 2 driver, adding funny commentary and interesting comments on events. Their voices are also well produced, also accompanying events at breaking points. But ultimately F1 23 remains a great racing game, more accessible than ever to beginners, more authentic than ever, more customizable and most notably with the return of the great Breaking Point story mode. It's certainly a recurring update with a few standout features, but the unfined F1 World experience and various smart changes make F1 23 a worthy addition to F1 fans' libraries. So thank you guys for watching this review on this beautiful game and see you in